Okay, so it's 7 o'clock, and we'd like to welcome everybody here to Menlo College and our Atherton City Council meeting. Before we start, I would like all of us to have a moment of silence for Virginia Ruggiero, who is a longtime Atherton resident who passed away this weekend, and also came to many council meetings, offered her suggestions, and often made some very relevant comments. So if we could just have a very brief moment of silence to remember Virginia and the contributions she made to the county. Okay, thank you. Why don't we start with the roll call?
Councilmember Dobby?
Here.
Councilmember McKeithen?
Here.
Councilmember Carlson?
Here.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Excused.
Mayor Whitmer?
Here. Okay. Next on our agenda is a few presentations. So we'd like to start with the presentations recognizing the Atherton Police Department volunteers. Okay. Okay. So we have a proclamation here recognizing the Atherton Police Department volunteers, whereas they provide a great service to the Atherton community, and whereas this is National Volunteer Week and also National Volunteer Month, as established by the executive order signed by President Nixon in 1974, and every president since then, and whereas the volunteers in the Atherton program are implemented to do a variety of services for the community. One very substantial and visible activity is the DARE program, as well as other DARE events in the community. And whereas they have restored and generally demonstrate a vintage DARE Mustang, whereas the Atherton Police Department has 4 volunteers that represent the organization, including Ruth Potts, who was instrumental in working with her husband Bruce Potts, our DARE officer, Skip Mills, and Ken Bowers, who have spent thousands of hours restoring the vintage DARE Mustang and attending many community events on behalf of the town. And additionally, Pat Mills, who is our newest volunteer who attends DARE events. And whereas these volunteers are essential in providing customer service to the police department and to the community, and whereas the assistance that they provide to the police department and the community is very invaluable. So now therefore, as the Mayor of Atherton and on behalf of the whole City Council and the community, I'd like to commend and specifically state our great appreciation for the service that these people perform for us and specifically recognize them. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to thank all of you for coming down tonight, and the mayor for the proclamation, and the department and the community really appreciates all the things you guys do, and we don't say thank you enough, and it's nice to have you all down here tonight. So thank you very much, and keep up the good work.
You can pick up your balls over at that side, any ball you want, and bag of coins.
So
I promise to only do that once a year.
Skip.
Excuse your council meetings.
Okay, a second proclamation, again, recognizing that this is National Volunteer Month, and one of the key volunteer activities is by the Peninsula Volunteers organization, which has headquarters in Menlo Park, however does a lot of fine service here in Atherton and supports and uses both Atherton residents in providing the support, as well as supports Atherton residents. And whereas shortly after World War II, a group of proactive women in southern San Mateo County created the Stanford Village Day Nursery School for children for returning vets. And whereas in 1947, this group incorporated itself as the Peninsula Volunteers and set a tradition of providing scholarships for local schools. And whereas in 1949, the Peninsula Volunteers created the Little Senior Center, which is off of Middle, for if you don't know. which in 1954 became the first such facility in the United States to open a building designed for those 50 or older. And whereas in 1977, Meals on Wheels, which is a program which delivers meals to people in need throughout every community here, and I think every council member has participated in delivering those meals, and it's a very worthwhile activity, which I just did this past year. They help people to ensure that they get proper nutrition, especially if they're homebound, or they have health or transportation challenges. And whereas the Peninsula Volunteers serves over 60,000 meals annually to seniors and homebound people through the Meals on Wheels. And whereas, now, as mayor, I would like to officially recognize that each month the lives of more than 3,500 people are enriched by the services by the Peninsula Volunteers, and we would like to thank them for their services. And I think you'd like to give a little presentation on.
Yes, I would just like to, first of all, thank you for the presentation. Thank you very much. I would like to just mention in terms of our volunteer program for the Meals on Wheels program, we do recognize the need for people from the community who would like to get involved in not only delivering but checking in on homebound residents by providing a meal Monday through Friday, and we are in great need for more great citizens from your community to become volunteers with our program. So if you're interested, I'd be happy to provide you information on how to do that.
Well, thank you so much. We're really honored to get this proclamation and to be here. Atherton, I don't know, I'm sorry, I was very late running down there, I'm out of breath. Our organization was born in the backyard in Atherton in 1947, so we're going into our 65th year anniversary. We're strong, we keep going, and we hope to be here for the 100th anniversary. But our programs are very much needed in this area, more so than people would think. And we fund 4 programs. Our name confuses people because we're called Peninsula Volunteers, and we get phone calls from people thinking we volunteer all over the peninsula. We're an organization that has a membership that runs the corporation, but we also do hand-on volunteering. But we have these wonderful community volunteers, and we could not run our programs without them. So if anybody wants to become part of our programs, we feed, we house, we give information, teach, and companionship to the aging adults in this community. So please come and join us anytime to do some volunteering.
Well, thank you. And while we don't have a proclamation, I do want to recognize Menlo College for hosting us, and specifically Hannah Malik, who is the student body president, who can't be with us today, but he offered very kindly to host us here and ran a lot of traps and got the school to put together not only a great room for us, but all the great signs and telling us where to go. So I would like to also thank Menlo College for hosting us, and hopefully we'll have a chance to come back and that you get something out of our being here as well. So thank you, and we hope that you participate fully in the meeting. Okay, so now as we move on, the next part of our meeting here is the public comment section. Now there is, I don't know if we've handed out to everybody in the audience the agenda. Okay, there are a number of things we're going to go over today, but the public comment section here is for items that are not on the agenda, but things that anyone in the audience would like to bring up for the council to and staff to understand that you believe it's a concern in the community. Later on in the program, once you see the agenda, if there's something you would like to speak about that's on the agenda, you will have an opportunity when we address that specific topic. So, is there anyone here who would like to make any public comments, which would be something that is not on the agenda today? Step forward. Yeah. I don't know. She'll speak loud.
My name is Denise Kupperman. I live at 74 Atherton Avenue. And I too would like to thank the college that I came to for hosting us today. So thank you. I'd like to remind the community that the Atherton Tree Committee will be holding its Arbor Day event this Saturday at Holbrook Color Park. And we will be planting 3 trees. We'll be adding to our elm grove collection, which happens to be the largest collection of elms west of the Mississippi. It's part of the UC Berkeley Department of Agricultural and Natural Resources Research Grove. And we encourage the community to come out on Saturday morning at 9:30 at Holbrook Color Park to join us in this wonderful event, which we hold every year. We'll also be planting a ginkgo, which is a well-known tree. And the ginkgo is known to really survive many, many events, including 4 that survived Hiroshima. Thank you.
Denise, is it a female ginkgo or a male? Because a female ginkgo at times.
Yes, it has fruit that is highly prized, but not necessarily considered aromatic. I believe it will be a male. Thank you.
So knowing that it would be a male, you might want to come out. All right, so.
It's young, it has produced young.
Any other public comments at this point in time? Yes.
Yes, good evening. I just wanted to announce a education forum for candidates for state assembly in this area, which is District 24. It'll be at Cupertino's Community Hall on Friday the 18th. It begins at 7 o'clock. It'll be a debate/forum between the 4 candidates for your district, which once again is District 24. It'll be, sorry to say myself, Richard Gordon, and Gabby Espinoza, another Democrat in the area. And it begins at 7 o'clock, and please attend, and there will also be time for questions from the public after the debate section. Thank you.
All right, can we know your name?
Joseph Rosas.
Okay, and Joseph, is that this coming Friday?
It is the 18th, yes.
Today's the 18th. So it'll be the 20th?
Sorry, yes.
So it's this coming Friday, okay. Sounds like a good,
Sorry, May 18th.
May 18th, okay, great. We will put something on our website notifying people as well.
Thank you.
All right. So as you come up, if you'd state your name, I'd appreciate it. As well, actually, our city manager would appreciate it.
My name is Ann McNerney, and I have one question right away. How did you choose Menlo College as a site for this meeting rather than the pavilion in the park? Because it's inconvenient for a number of the people interested in Atherton who are older to walk that long distance. So why was this site chosen? 1. 2, I hope you don't choose it again. 3, I've forgotten. But anyway, I have other public comment. Why don't you respond to that question first?
So I'll answer the question. We said that we would try and move the meetings around so that other people in parts of the community could attend, and there's a number of Atherton residents that attend Menlo College, and so we're working to try and get some of our meetings at some of the schools where they're more of a community drawing center. So, and the first one that we had a kind offer from was Menlo College.
That's very nice. Do these Atherton residents, are they old enough to vote yet?
Many of them are.
Yes. One of the other reasons, and I brought this up when I was being elected, actually, is that we've not had very good attendance at many of our council meetings, and we wanted to encourage younger people to attend our council meetings because we felt it might be an educational experience for them. And therefore, we thought that if we did it in different parts of the area here, that we'd probably get more younger people to attend. And I'm happy to see that we have some younger people here tonight. So that's another reason. Plus, there-
I'd
plus
love
there are
to
facilities.
ask some of the younger people if this is an assignment from their civics class.
Extra credit.
It's extra credit, okay. So
Very
attending a
interesting.
meeting, you get an extra credit, so that's a pretty good deal. So, I'm not sure that shows that much civic interest. It's a nice idea, but I think on an issue that's so important to the town of Atherton, I think having a further, last minute change of meeting was inappropriate. So I just want to share that opinion.
I mean, I would just say this, for older people, I mean, too, and I didn't have any difficulty getting here today, so.
Well, my husband's 80 and I'm in my 60s, and I thought you were making people walk a very long way from the park.
We did notify, 2 months ago, we said we were gonna have this meeting, and it wasn't in the papers 2 weeks ago. So, sorry if you missed it or it wasn't clear, but okay, thank you
All
for
right.
your comments.
Well, now the other question is, because it's so hard to read the agenda at the last minute, I see you're going to discuss the library in number 14, but it says second amendment to the LSA Associates Agreement. So is there is that the place where people will make comments about the library issue, or is this the time to make the comments?
The subject that's on the agenda is for the amendment to the EIR agreement where they're doing the work.
Right, so then that would not be appropriate for public comment about the library. This would be
That's correct.
all right. So if anybody wants to make a comment about the park and the other sites for the library, this is the time for you to get up and talk, because it's not on the agenda other than a simple contract revision, for which will be very specific, and you'll be excluded from talking about some of the issues that we're interested in.
Right.
Okay, so I want to come back for public comment, if that's allowed, because I feel I've talked enough. I have public comment on the library issue, but I'd like to let some other people step forward if they want.
Well, traditionally, we give for each, normally we have a timer, and you get 3 minutes to discuss whatever you'd like to discuss, and then you get one shot at each section. So if you'd like to say something specifically about the library, I would appreciate it if we would cover it now.
Okay, well,
I'm not trying to
I'm
make
going
a stand on
to,
it, I apologize.
I'm going to pass around the emails that I just sent to all of you, and I sent to Ms. Sanders the other day, and I sent them to you today. And I guess I'm going to say that I attended a council meeting when I had the flu, and I made some comments such as at the Parks Department, they wisely decided not to make a decision because we needed more input from the community. And Mr. Rigman presented a rather factual report, and a representative of the Library Steering Committee said, and there were a lot, and I pointed out, and he pointed out by his facts, that there were a lot of flaws in the original report about positioning the library in the park by the architectural firm that made that report. And since the size has been reduced to 10,000 feet, that bears out some of his comments. And one of the things that came out is he asked the representative of the Library Steering Committee, did you just accept the facts in this architectural report as true? And they said yes, they didn't question it. So that's an indication. And then there was also sort of rush, we have to do an ER report at the next town council meeting where I mentioned this. And I said, we don't really need to rush an EIR report, you know. However, it seems to have happened. And it seems that the EIR report did not take into account the medical building, which is in Menlo Park, the other side of the street, across from the proposed right-hand turn lane. And that has 50 parking spaces, and when it becomes operational, will really congest traffic. And excuse me, I'm fluish today rather than just having a full-blown case of the flu the last time. I hope next time I see you I don't have any flu. Anyway, I just learned about this right-hand turn lane. Again, I didn't get notice in the mail, from an article a neighbor who's lived since 1976 brought to us because we live at 1 Watkins, the property that would be affected by the right-hand turn lane. And he informed me that the white fence has been there since 1976. And he knows, and he surmises, that Atherton probably built that fence to be in line with a neighborhood plan because there are fences at that distance from the road all the way down to the railroad tracks. Now I know I've personally seen when we had Public Works painting and repairing that, the fence, because every now and then, because of the restaurant, we have a lot of people crashing into our property. So obviously, so in my emails, which I hope you all read, the right turn would substantially devaluate our property. It would be almost equal to a condemnation. It's enough of a raceway already. There needs to be, I think, at least an 18-foot setback from the road now if you build a house in Atherton, and we will lose our parking places, and the roadway will be very close to our house. So we obviously object to it. And Mr. Ferrero, who brought it to our attention, who lives around the corner on El Camino, says it will be impossible for us to get out of their driveway. The other thing is, since they built the new railroad trestle, it's full of blind spots. So that's another place where there are more accidents and more danger. But I also found it very interesting that only pro-park sites were quoted in the newspaper by Miss McKeithen. And we are always home. My husband is retired. Why did Miss Peters, who wrote the first article in the newspaper, not knock on our door and ask us some questions about the property? And Sandy Crittenden knew it was a property. It was Atherton's property because he lived across the street for over 20 years, so it's no big surprise. And I will wrap it up, but I want to say that this whole situation the community has asked for a survey of every homeowner in San Francisco. It was shot down. The community has asked for a vote at a town council meeting I wasn't at. It was shot down. The community now, and I am now asking you for a vote on whether it should be in the park. And I would like you to consider that. This whole behavior of the pro-park supporters has been what I've coined the new mandarins, a phrase which describes people in government. I'm going to finish my letter. People in government who, for the sake of a particular goal, bypass fair government. They do not follow protocol. They go to the papers first. They do not notice parties involved. They bypass people in their own administration who should be notified. They misrepresent, over-control, beat up the Constitution, and try as hard as they can to limit public input. Unfortunately, all of these things have occurred with the library project, and we need a vote. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. That's okay. So in the future, if we could have comments within about a 3-minute period of time, that would keep things moving. Are there any other public comments on items that are not on the agenda? Come on up, Charles.
Charles Marcella, 33 Emily. I do think the outreach has some benefits. It obviously has some problems. Also want to suggest, I know a lot of residents frequently are at left bank, so that might be an alternative for a meeting one time.
Thank you very much for the salient comment. Will you pick up the check, Charles?
I'll have to look at that $25 program, how that works out. One of the things I think that's fitting to be here is, we have the library issue on the table, and if we were to do something with the library where we have that $5 million growing to $8 million surplus, I know the school here has raised a lot of money. It's been improving in a great way. And this outreach, having the meeting tonight here, I think has some benefits here. So one of the things that happened was in San Jose, they needed a library, and the city worked with the college, the university down there, as a joint venture, and it's worked out very well. So I actually have a thesis that was written by one of the students there, and I'll pass this out to you guys, on the success of that program. And it seemed that there might be a great opportunity here for us to partner with the college to improve their library, at the same time get services from that partnership with the library, because they're very innovative. I mean, they're high speed, they're internet, maybe there's some classes that they could start hosting here to educate Atherton residents on writing our own apps or other programs, so that we could expand this partnership by working with them in their library. That's it.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Charles. And we'll get back with you on the left bank. Okay. Are there any other public comments?
Sure, I'll do that. You guys move the time to the place, sorry.
Well, please state your name and try and work on a 3-minute
Okay.
limit.
All right, my name's Carl Ferrero. I've been living in Atherton for 37 years in my own place, and grew up with my parents in Atherton also when they lived here. So I've been in the neighborhood for a while, and where I live is on El Camino Real, just north of Watkins. And in the time that I've been there, I've seen a lot of accidents. And I've read the reports, and they want to do make a right turn lane, which will then open up free again to people to take left turns there. And I've just seen too much. Too many accidents, too many people actually getting killed there. In their cars, on foot, everything else. And it's just a treacherous place. And to just increase the traffic, you're going to be bringing now people with little kids to the library and stuff. It's going to create a disaster at that point. I was tempted to bring the last remnant of the accident, which was a spare tire that got knocked out of somebody's car. That's how hard somebody hit that car. That it ended up in my front yard. From the police department or whoever does the cleanup took it away. And we sat there when I got back. I was working out of town when I got back. Where'd this come from? And I heard from my neighbor, oh, well, there was another big accident out there at El Camino and Watkins. And then it's going to cause a lot of traffic along that lane there. And the other thing that I'm concerned about is where's all this money coming from to build this library? I mean, we get special taxed every year, and now all of a sudden, I mean, didn't we just read that we laid off all our maintenance staff? And now all of a sudden we got money to put into, what, $8 million for a library and a couple $1 million per light? So those are my main concerns. Where's the money coming from? Who's going to upkeep all this and staff this? And then what are you going to do about our neighborhood? I keep seeing signs going up about the train. There goes the neighborhood. Well, I can say the same thing for the Atherton Library. There goes our neighborhood. Because it's going to be full of traffic and just a big mess right there at that corner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, I think you need to read some of the information that's gone out and go to the library website. The money is already there. It's in a special fund that can be used only for the library. It's not special money that is yet to be taxed to you. It's already in the fund. It comes in at $720,000 per year. As far as maintenance, it would help to maintain the park, and there are articles that show that actually libraries and parks actually increase property values rather than decrease them. Just as there has been a recent study that was written up in the Los Angeles Times that shows that people who have e-readers, which is something that Mr. Ringham discussed, actually read more books than people who don't. So all of this has been studied at great length, and you can read it on the website and in the many pieces of information that have gone out to the people of Atherton. And if you want more information, speak with people from the Library Steering Committee or attend the meeting. We welcome people to attend these meetings, and we'd be happy to answer any question you have. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Okay, I got a letter from Herman Christensen, who is the chair of the Atherton Planning Commission, and he asked me to read this letter. He could not be here today. The letter is as follows. In our past meeting, the Planning Commission passed a resolution recommending the General Plan Committee be abolished and its duties assigned by the Planning Commission. This resolution was anticipated to be on the current council agenda. Regrettably, it is not. Calls to the town planner, Lisa Costa Sanders, indicated that this was deemed appropriate as the council was planning a 5 May committee review session, which is true. This may be the case, but as per council rules, and in respect for the work that many volunteers do on the various committees, it seems appropriate that when a committee makes a recommendation to council that it should be on the agenda. Each committee takes its responsibilities seriously, and they have the right to be heard. City staff should not be making arbitrary decisions rendering committees' work silent with respect to the committee hearing the recommendation. Additionally, feedback should be provided in a proactive manner when circumstances create this occasional anomaly. Sincerely, Herman Christensen, Chair of the Atherton Planning Commission. Pass that one to you. Thank you. Okay, so are there no other public comments? We will close the public comment section, and we will move to the regular agenda, starting with the city manager's report. Teresa? Oh, sorry. Report out of closed session. At 4:30 today, City Council met with its labor advisor, and there is no reportable action out of that meeting. Now we will move to the city manager's report.
You have my written report. I'll take any questions.
I missed public comment, and I'm sorry, it's important. There's no disabled access to this room. And as a disabled person, I just think that you need to have that pointed out to you.
Thank you.
So you have this not as accessible to disabled people.
Okay.
You need to make sure that you don't do that again.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Public
I
comment should be
requested they not
accessible
use
to
the room
disabled
again
people.
earlier too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, this room is technically handicap accessible. There's an elevator and there's access down through it. I know it's difficult to find, but in terms of handicap accessibility, I'm assured it actually meets the law.
Okay, first, it's disabled because handicap comes from the terms when you're handy with your cap to beg for money, just so you guys know. And it's so disabled, and it is, if I could have found it, I would have. Honestly, I looked for it. But instead, I walked clear across the campus, all the way across the entire campus, because there was no parking, there was no sign that said, hey, there's signs here, but you're really gonna be way the heck down there. And then there were no signs that I could find, and I looked all over the place for an elevator, instead of going down 2 flights of stairs. Sorry,
It's
but
here.
I just did it, so I'm a little mad.
It's here, but I agree with you. It's
Thank
difficult
you.
to find.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions on the city manager's report?
Yes? Anyone else? A couple of points, please. Teresa, you've done a fine job on the discussion of the Menlo Park draft EIRs and their effect on the Atherton traffic. But for the sake of the community, since this is such an important issue with what's going on in Menlo Park with Facebook and their other projects, could I ask that at the next community meeting, so you have a heads up on this and you're not blindsided, that perhaps we have a public report on what's happening with Menlo Park's EIRs, draft EIRs, and how they have responded or not responded to our comments and what it might mean for Atherton. My second point is, there's a statement in here that about from Public Works about weekly maintenance of the tennis courts. And I know that when we did the park rec walkthrough, and I attended the Park and Rec meeting where they had their annual walkthrough of the park a week or so ago, they looked at the tennis courts, and apparently there was some indication from the tennis pro that they weren't being adequately cleaned up. Our tennis courts at the park occupy over 43,000 square feet. That is a lot of space in the park. especially when you're thinking about a library that might go in occupying 10,000 square feet. Could we have a report about what the annual cost of maintenance is, especially when it serves 37 residents of Atherton? So 29 residents of Atherton and several residents of Menlo Park. That's a lot of money and space for only a few residents. And that's all. Thank you very much. It was a very thorough report, as always.
Okay, so now we move to the consent calendar. And the consent calendar is items number 8 through number 19. And any member of the council or a member of the audience can request that any one of these items be pulled from the consent calendar and then discussed and voted on separately with public comments. So at this point in time, I'd like to ask the council to see if there are any items that they would like to have pulled from the consent calendar, items 8 through 19.
Mayor, I'd like to discuss your letter number 19.
Sure.
I'd like to pull 16, and I also have a question on item number 9. Really, my question on item number 9 is,
We haven't finished all the pollings yet.
oh, yeah.
I have a question, please, on item number 8.
Right. Any members of the public like to pull an item for discussion? So at this point in time, we are talking about number 8, which is the approval of the bills. Number 9, which is an appointment to, a question with the appointment to the Parks and Rec. Number 16, which is the Interwest contract, and number 19, which is a letter being proposed to be sent to the member agencies of the South Bay Waste Management Authority.